Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Adult Learner's Journey, the podcast where we dive deep into the experiences of adult learners navigating college while pursuing their career goals. I'm your host, Jimmy McClellan, and today we have the pleasure of exploring how adult learners have helped their careers through their time in college. Today, we are meeting with Loyce and Joyce from the University of Memphis. So I'd love to turn it over to both of you just to introduce yourself a little bit.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
I am Loyce Shelley. I am the first to graduate between the two of us. So happy to be on this podcast today.
And I am Joyce. The last is always the best. I'm currently a student at the University of Memphis, and I'm super excited to be here with you all on today.
Yes, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us and to have folks listen to your journeys and how you have gotten to where you are today. We're really excited here at APLU and USU to learn more about the adult learner experience. As you know, we've worked together for a couple of months now. That this is something we're really passionate about. I know it's something that you're passionate about as well. And we're looking at this through different angles with our Urban Adult Learner Institute or UALI Institute. Today, we'll be focusing a little bit more on the career congruence aspect of how colleges can prepare adult learners or best prepare adult learners for careers that maybe they're already in or maybe they're looking to aspire to be in. So I'd love to start with a question first. We know adult learners oftentimes will come in with some career experience already. So as far as balancing your academic responsibilities with your career commitments, we know that can be challenging. How did you manage that, or how do you manage that in your time at the University of Memphis?
I'm gonna have to let Joyce answer that part only because when I started my journey, it was when I came back, it was during the pandemic. So really, honestly, I would say it was the second year is when I truly kind of felt more of the weight of working through work and being in school at the same time. Just the weight, the heaviness of feeling the whole world open back up and having to try to get back to a normal routine and still complete this work. It was definitely challenging. And even physically on the body, because at the age of 52, sitting down for a long time was not easy. So it was challenging in that way because when you're an overachiever and as an adult, you feel the pressure of needing to be successful because people are going to be judging you and you feel that way. Even if people don't say it, you feel that everybody's going to look at you and think you should have everything together now. There's no reason why you should have an A-. So I put that unrealistic pressure on myself, even though I did end up making all A's, but it was hard because I felt that I had to because I'm an adult learner. I've lived my life, I should be at a better state. So I need to show these youngins that I still got it. So it's all of these things you put on yourself. So it was hard doing that and being in the work field. For the time that I was doing it, which was that last year of my before I graduated. But Joyce,
For me, since I've been back in school since January of 22, I can truly say, and I've been working all the time, along with being a wife and a mom of a child who's still in school, a freshman at the time in high school. It's definitely challenging, but it's where you have to set your goals, make a chart or whatever it is, to make sure you're well-rounded, well-balanced, and give yourself that break. I cannot be so extra hard on myself. In the beginning, I was very hard on myself because one thing Loyce pointed out, being an adult learner, some people think, well, you're an adult. You should have it all together. You know the answers to everything, and you should be making A+++ because you should know it all because you are the adult. But being that adult learning coming back, there's a bridge, there's a gap that you have to now fulfill. The things that you don't know and the things you thought you knew, there's a new way of knowing it. So you have to relearn that, such as math. There's the way I learned it back in the days, there's so totally different ways and mechanisms that they're using to learn it. So yes, I have to finagle and learn how to do that along with not being so hard on myself at the same time. So it's been challenging, but it's been a great welcoming challenging.
Yeah, so it sounds like there are just many different aspects to balance, not only career, but also family, also personal life. So many different aspects of that. Before we move on to other questions, I think it might be helpful for our listeners to understand, before you decided to re-enroll at the University of Memphis, what were, as far as like career goes, what were you working on at the time? And did that align with what you wanted to continue to do after you got your bachelor's degree? I'm interested to see if there's some alignment there, or if you were thinking about doing something totally different.
You know what? For me, I can speak truthful on that. I am doing just a part of what I want to do now, before, and currently now, and it's my goal to do it afterwards. I work for an investment firm company, and I am in leadership. And so with my degree that I'm doing right now, it definitely lines up with that. And now, touching the goal, like being able to speak with you right now, it opened me up to another world, to where life after getting my degree, my goal is to be more an advocate for adult learning. But I am on the road and on the path of the degree that I'm seeking, before and after.
For me, of course, mine's Build Your Own Degree program. I was already an event planner, and I went that route with also being an advocate, getting my minor in child development. It really, after the fact, because I was already an event planner, it didn't change anything. I guess my idea, I thought, was that this whole other world was going to open up a little bit more. After going through the program, I really expected there to be like the program was so organized, everything was step by step, that I really expected a component on the end to be, now let's connect you with this business or this, so that you can have this avenue. That was the only part that did not happen, that I felt that there was a missing part that should be there. But other than that, I was already working in my field.
Got it. Yeah, no, and that's helpful too. So the next question I have kind of relates to how this career development aspect happens in your program at the University of Memphis. So if the question doesn't fully fit to how it works at Memphis, feel free to change it a little bit. But I'm interested to know, because many colleges offer career services, but we'd like to know how those specific resources are tailored to adult learners in your program or at U of M. So the question is, what career services or support have you found to be most beneficial in guiding you toward your career goals?
I will tell you this, and the choice of the word career services, and we have a department with that at the University of Memphis, and where every student is encouraged. It's a part of our senior project to connect with that department, make sure that we get a resume done, and that we could, that they help us to build this resume so that we can be able to hopefully get other employment post-graduation. But even that part wasn't quite like what I thought it would be, because it entails really you would need multiple resumes, because if I want one to be tailored toward event planning, one to be tailored this way, or is it going to be this generic one? And parts what's in this generic one doesn't fit over here. So when I realized, going back and forth, that it's not quite like what you would think it is, and I know to them, if that's all they've known, they feel like it's a good one size fit all, almost. Not trying to say they're trying to make it one size fit all, because they do have it where if you're through a certain school, then they want your resume to look like this. However, it was kind of, I felt a little frustration, trying to get an understanding of my resume still didn't come out, and it still didn't fit or get me anything that I thought, because I was just curious. I'm thinking, I thought that I would have that far of an advantage, me being an adult. I felt like I knew more, experienced more, but I thought that, Shirley would be able to help me, be able to navigate that water post-graduation. It didn't work out that way. So even though we had the career service department, I didn't think it didn't make my resume strong enough. So I don't know. You know how everything just needs to be tweaked. You don't know until you go through it. I just feel like a little bit more tweaking on that part.
Yeah, no, that's, and please, Joyce, jump in a moment. But something I'm thinking about as well as you're talking, and you let me know if this aligns with what you're saying, is many times people in career services, the folks who work there might be used to trying to help a 22-year-old get their first job out of college. Whereas, you're saying you have multiple interests and you've worked in different fields. You may be able to have a full-time job, a side gig, a part-time job, because those are all your interests and you're able to reach those. And through your experience, whether that's being hired or having hired people in the past, that you can't just do these one-size-fit-all resumes and cover letters, because people who are hiring can see through that and can tell you just copy and paste it and put the a different organization's title on it. So yeah, does that kind of align with what you're saying?
You said it just right, because what ended up happening when I was just sourcing out my, just getting a feel from other people, from other companies, what my resume looked like, trying to feel what it stood up to, I ended up looking more like an amateur. I felt, and it didn't reflect me. And it was so hard to really convey to the department what I'm needing and what that gap is, that I went out to try to source it and pay a company to try to help bridge that gap. And I didn't feel like I should have been paying a company to try to bridge a gap, because that should have been in-house, and still trying to make that resume strong, because that's a world I have been away from for years. And there still is that gap there, but you hit it right on the head. Something has to be able to be there for us. And to have someone that can speak our language and understand that you need to be the bridge this gap for us, because, hey, suppose I want to stop being an event planner and I want to start going back into the corporate world. I don't have a resume that's going to help me get there, because nobody can speak my language. Nobody understands how to put me into this world.
See, I'm just getting started with this. I have yet to go. After August 1st, I'll be a senior. So I'll be getting to that realm to see if I want to go another avenue. And just listening to her and watching her walk the walk, it did open my mind and made me wonder, okay, wow, if I'm going to have the same mundane type of way of being, or is it going to be now elevated to where it not only reaches the old, but it reaches the young, but it bridges the gap to get that older generation with the experience in a different level, in a different playing field. You know what I'm saying? Because like you said, if you're basically tailoring to those who are young, who haven't yet lived to have a work experience, then it's going to only read one way, instead of, okay, let's get another avenue for those who have experience and want to still bridge out and do something different. Let's help them.
So they put their stamp of approval and said my resume was fine to a certain point, but it still didn't hold up to what I needed it to hold up to. So it was a gap.
Yeah. So I think really adult learners being able to have that judgment too, and understand, in many universities and institutions, of course the faculty and staff are trying to do their best, and they're putting their best work out there, but still having that critical lens to say, yes, this was good advice, but maybe it wasn't 100% for me. How can I still tailor and use some of my own knowledge that's really valuable, and kind of put that above maybe what I've been told, because I know this field that I'm going into. I know what folks are looking towards. So yeah, I think there's this constant balance of that, especially, working with advisors or mentors that you really appreciate and love for the work that they do, but still being able to have that critical knowledge of like, love that advice, but maybe that wasn't going to fit for me. Let me try something.
Yeah.
Great. Another question I have related to the career aspect. So you both talked about how your diverse work backgrounds really kind of helped you think about what you wanted to do in college. I'm wondering, how do you leverage your previous work experience to enhance your learning and career prospects during your college journey? So are there things that you have learned throughout your career that are helping you now in the classroom be successful?
Oh, yes. I'm gonna tell you, even though I've graduated, the one thing that helped me be successful when I was taking college classes was the fearlessness of knowing how to network and connect with people. Even though all my classes were online, because I understood the importance of how to connect with people through the internet and be able to be engaging and to speak to them in such a way that you knew me, I was able to have a very successful relationship with all of my professors. It was as if I had met them and I had never met any of them. But my relationship was so good with them, and I knew I could count on them to answer any question. But not just as a professor, it felt as though we had another kind of a relationship as well that went beyond being a professor. And that was because me being in the event world and knowing how to network and talk to people, and then just picking up on a person's personality, even never speaking to them verbally, but even just through an email, I could tell the tone of, okay, is this person more of an introvert, an extrovert? Are they more, a talkative person that's going to give me more information? I could pick up on a person's personality just by the tone of how they talk through email. And it allowed me to be able to know how to address them based on my expertise of how to deal with different personalities in the event world. So it did help. It did help. And to me, it allowed me to be able to get the best experience out of my college world. And it's the thing that us adults are always trying to encourage students to be open with, get to know your professors, whereas kids nowadays look at it as sucking up. But I'm like, no, you're missing out on having this extended relationship that goes outside of the classroom beyond graduation. So it really helped me, and I was glad at the experience that I got from even having that experience from the event world. It did parlay over.
It does. I second what she said, because being in the event world, you have to know how to deal with so many different people, all walks of life, several different attitudes. And so whether you're online or in the classroom, it's no difference. You got several different professors, and then you got all these different group discussions, and discussions with your classmates help you to learn them. So this has really opened my door to really understand them even better. That's one great thing about being online for me, because I'm able to really see a person for myself without somebody else introducing me and making me see them through their eyes. It's really helped out and been beneficial for me.
Great, thank you. Yes, I think those are all really important. I actually had a question about networking, but you kind of answered that already. Because I think that from the perspective you have and understanding a little more about the world before coming to college, networking can sometimes be a difficult skill for young people, but I really could say anybody to learn, to see the point of, to understand how to do it effectively, so it doesn't feel like what you said, like sucking up to folks, because it really is about making that connection, understanding some commonalities, and then seeing how there can be mutual help from both sides, whether that's, from your professor, if that's maybe helping them with a research project later on down the line, and then vice versa, if they can help you connect with more people to identify jobs that you want to be a part of, or organizations you want to be a part of, so on and so forth. So I think that's something that can really be beneficial to anybody, and is so important in the college process, that this isn't just about passively sitting there and learning and taking in knowledge, but it's also about being active and getting to know more and more people so that you can make that network larger. So whether you want to switch careers one day, somebody in a different field already, whether that's a classmate or so on and so forth. So yep, good. So those are all of the, because you took my last question about networking, but those are all of the prepared questions that I had today. But as we're thinking about folks who are listening to this, which the vast majority of the people who will be listening to this podcast are faculty and staff at universities across the country, not unlike the University of Memphis. So I'm wondering if there's any advice or thoughts or parting words that you have for the faculty and staff at universities who are working with adult learners currently, or trying to just learn more about the population in relation to how they can best prepare them for jobs and careers that they might be interested in the future.
As you were talking, I was thinking, for me, you're ready to come into a whole new world and have in the trenches, meaning schooling, and I mean it in a great way. If there was a way, my favorite phrase again is to bridge that gap. Instead of having an all-out career fair for just the whole body, if they can have a career fair that's tailored for those adult learners with experience that's trying to revitalize and restart this again, to bridge that gap, I think that will help out a lot, rather than putting us in the general body, meaning with the youth and everybody, okay, let's go to this career fair. It needs to be something more tailored, just like the adult learning is tailored for those adult learners. It needs to be something along that path. It needs to be something structured like that to help us bridge that gap and keep us to be successful even afterwards.
Well, here's the thing. I hear what Joyce is saying too. I know that the avenue, because, for years we've, colleges, university, they're perfected the marketing toward the incoming freshmen, and then the keeping the freshmen there, hopefully from each year, but definitely toward the incoming. But I know this is still, even though the program of adult learning, has been around, for more than 5 years now, the fact is, it's still an ever-changing avenue of learning how to be effective with it, only because you're still dealing with adults. And we've experienced so much more than children have before they come in as freshmen. And so it's never going to be totally perfect. The thing I would say to all of the colleges and universities, to be open to continue striving to make it to where they can reach these adults, because we're already intimidated coming back to compete with the children. And now when, I felt that the pressure of, I'm trying to convey to them that this resume is not working, it's not what I need, but I'm telling them, but there's this gap, and I got this young student who is just doing this because she needs this work study credit for this week, this semester. I'm still getting the gap. And so we don't want to feel like we're being worse or anything. So I would just tell them to continue to be open. I love the fact that people are willing to try to help bring us in, but be open to really make it engaging toward us. And like Joyce said, there's no harm in making a career fair to where, okay, you know what? This is to help the more experienced adults get to be able to feel like they can get their leg in and get the extra help they need, get their questions answered. Okay, let's tailor it toward them. And I know people will be like, well, isn't it ostracizing? But because the fact is so different on this level than just, having a college freshman or a sophomore, junior up through senior, someone who has an experience like we have, we need a little bit more, just so that we can feel engaged and connected and know that we got someone that can walk us through. And if all universities, that's why I say it doesn't just stop at the University of Memphis, but if all of them can see how to be able to bridge that gap to, if someone wants to be able to work and change, I could have decided to stop being an event planner, but I didn't have that other part that helped me to transcend over to the corporate world or any other world other than the world I was already in, because there was a drop-off point after I finished. It just didn't connect over and carry me on through.
Yeah, no, I think that both of that is really good advice in thinking about ways to tailor, whether it's career fairs or other events. How can we make sure that, yes, adult learners, but as you're talking too, I'm thinking, I know students now who are like 16, 17, who have started their own businesses and have a lot of experience coming in. So
awesome. Yes.
Right. So it can absolutely help adult learners. But in the way that I see this too, is that when you're helping adult learners, it can kind of lift everybody too. It's creating more equitable spaces for all kind of students with different experiences, because, I think we use the term adult learner broadly, but there are some 18-year-olds who have lived some very adult things in their lives already. By the time they get to college, they are on a different level than
It's
other
true.
18-year-olds.
That is so true.
So I think really thinking and framing that, so the faculty and staff who are out there listening, that these initiatives, these programs can help all students or many more students than simply just adult learners. So that's something to consider as well. And then Loyce, as you were talking, I was just thinking about how important it is just for faculty and staff to seek out the adult learner voice in what they're doing, and not only just make programs that they think are going to work, or Googling something just because that something's not working at their university, but really going out to seek adult learners, find where they are, understand what they need and what they want, so that we're not just guessing. I recognize too, adult learners are busy. They're busy lives, but just like you are, I think if we seek folks out and tell them we care about their experience, we care about making sure that we're perfecting as much as possible this experience on campus, that I think adult learners can find a couple of minutes to share their thoughts.
And that's why also when you go to campus and you see those banners and they have the younger students on it, I'm like, hey, put some banners of adult learners.
Right.
Because guess who's bringing those kids to the school? It's us. Bringing our children to the university. You're missing out on a whole nother market. Right. Can you imagine how many parents would be flooding back to the universities to come back if they knew all of this existed? If I'd known, it wouldn't have been that many years. I didn't know until I heard Dr. Whittle West years in 2017 talk about it. Had no idea. So, a lot of parents will come back. So if they just broaden it.
And that's powerful what you just said, because the marketing for a lot of universities is the youth. It's just everywhere. No matter where you go, you're going to always see them marketing the youth. But if they start marketing not only the youth, but make it a cohesive bridging of the gap to market the adults or the parents, because they're still adults too, the universities will be really opening a whole new door.
They'll be turning students away because there'll be too many parents trying to come and get those seats.
So those cheering up freshman week or something like that, have adult learners week, tailor make it to them, to include them, because it's all about inclusion.
Right. Well, thank you so much, Loyce and Joyce. Thanks for taking some time with me today and talking to our listeners. I have learned so much from you in this moment, and I know we're going to keep the conversation going through UALI and your participation with that. So,
I look forward.
Yep. So thank you to all of our listeners for tuning into the Adult Learners Journey. This was our very first episode, and episode 2 is a part of this component as well. So feel free to take a listen. We will be talking to Yasmina Johnson from Fresno State University. And so remember, it's never too late to chase your dreams, and we will see you next time.